And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business. Today from my home office in White Plains, New York, CBSI, based in Harrison, New York, has been a provider to the credit card industry for over 30 years. And today we have a chance to talk with a good friend of ours from the Business Council of Westchester, their Executive Vice President, John Ravitz. John, how are you today?
Ken, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Well, John, your organization, a very well-respected trade group in Westchester County, covering a lot of different types of industries. You're getting a lot of information out to your membership on your website in form of videos and specifics. What are some of the key ways that you've been able to help your members through the start of this crisis?
Well, again, Ken, thank you for having me. And just for your listeners, the Business Council of Westchester is the county's only business membership organization that focuses on economic development and advocacy on behalf of the business community. We have about 1,000 members, and they range from the multi-international companies that call Westchester home to all of the professional service firms, hospitals, universities, biotech firms, non-for-profits, mid-sized and small businesses, and solo entrepreneurs. And our goal is to help our members grow their businesses by helping them build relationships with each other, by helping them and putting them in front of stakeholders that can help their businesses, and then by helping them market their businesses by using all of our different communication platforms, and then advocating for them on all levels of government. All of that work now has even been more intensified since the coronavirus crisis has hit Westchester County, New York State, and the country. And so what we're trying to do is to be that one-stop resource for our members, to give them updates on important information that they and their employees need to know, to be able to put them in contact with experts who can help them immediately resolve any conflicts that are happening, and then to, again, help members connect with each other, who can begin to help build not only their relationships, but if one member has a real direct need, another member might be able to fill that gap or help them fill that gap. So we have been all working remotely but we certainly, I think, have been more busy than any of us could have possibly have imagined, because there's just such an amount of work that needs to get done to help continue to keep businesses open, to help them through these rough times, and then to help them think about the reemergence. Once this crisis is over, how is the Westchester economy going to get back on track? How are we going to bring back those jobs? And how are we going to try to make up for what has been a horrific 2 months?
Well, certainly, and the Business Council of Westchester has been a leader in providing information about the legislation that Congress approved, the $2 trillion in economic relief aid to both businesses and employees. And you've had a webinar and you have information coming out each day. What are some of the key facts that you're finding out about how the stimulus bill, the CARES Act, is working so far?
Well, again, when we held the webinar last Monday, a week ago, it was really 3 days after the bill had finally passed both houses, the Senate and Congress, and the president had signed it into law. And so what we wanted to do was to give our members an overview, a comprehensive overview of what was in the bill and what was not in the bill. And that webinar can be found on our website for our members and non-members at the www.thebcw.org. A week later, Ken, I think what we're all seeing is that as much as Washington wanted to help and get this stimulus package passed, the infrastructure that was needed to support the implementation of that bill hasn't been created yet. And so today, as we talk, we're hearing that a lot of banks, whether they be the community banks or the larger financial institutions, are just getting swamped with not only the request, but the applications. And that's caused, I think, a lot of confusion, a lot of delay. And we're now going to have to see how the Washington and these institutions working together can hopefully simplify the process or fix some of the major holes that obviously were not either thought about or just broke down very quickly in this process.
Well, I think about some of the programs like the Department of Veterans Affairs has done when they did the new GI Bill. It took them a year to set up the administration behind that program. And the banks involved in this are being asked to do this literally within a week. Now, is this something that you see the bigger banks have more infrastructure available, the Chase or Citibanks versus the smaller banks?
I tell you again, and this is not a scientific survey. I think we've heard from people today who have used the major banks to the community banks. They're all in the same boat right now, and that's something that I think everyone needs to take stock of. That again, the rush to implement a bill can sometimes get in the way of making sure you don't have so many things fall between the cracks, and that's what we're now going to have to look at. And we're going to have to resolve.
And I guess the key provision is aid to businesses themselves. There's also going to be expanded unemployment. What are any feel for some of the specific benefits that are in the bill that businesses would want to know about?
Well, I think again the tax credits for those businesses that are trying to keep their employees, or the credits, I should say, that for some of the employers who are trying to keep their employees on staff or not have to lay off or furlough. Obviously, the unemployment insurance is probably what is on most employers' minds, because look, no employer probably wanted to have to make the tough decisions that they have had to make over these last few weeks. This was unexpected in terms of the just ferocious speed that this virus closed down New York State's economy. So now employers, I think, want to make sure that they're doing everything they can to help their employees who all have families who are now suffering. And so I think that's probably in it's in their top priority to do that. Again, what I mentioned earlier is going to be the other big challenge, which is the reemergence. How do different sectors come out of this and begin to bring their businesses back and bring their employees back? And that's going to be something that we're going to have to watch. I mean, the governor, again, just announced today that he's extended the non-essential businesses to stay closed till the end of April. Yeah. And so now we're looking to see what will happen in May. So as these weeks continue, there's going to be a real need to continue for these businesses to develop long-term strategies. And it's a little tough to do when you just don't know when this crisis is going to end and be resolved.
Yeah, some of the writers over the weekend started to talk about phasing in the recovery in terms of some workers being able to go back based on being able to be tested that they are healthy, and then also some businesses that might not have the same large crowds involved of people. So we'll see. Now you have membership in terms of hospitals, and obviously the pressure on the hospitals in Westchester County has been immense. How do you see the major hospitals and medical practices holding out over this?
Well, they're doing everything they can, and we're very honored to have all the hospitals in Westchester County as members of the Business Council of Westchester, and we've talked to all of the CEOs and the presidents who are on the front lines. And I have to tell you, when this thing is finally over, every New Yorker and every member of Westchester should be able to go to one of their local hospitals to say thank you. Or if they know of a healthcare provider who works in a hospital now, send them an email, give them a call, tell them thank you very much for everything that they're doing, because it is just, they are literally working in war zones right now. And we have some members who are picking up the slack, trying to help. We have a manufacturing company in New Rochelle, Allied Converters. Rich Ellenbogen is the president of that company. They design different plastic packaging for large supermarkets and package processors. He was able to develop, using one of his products, a plastic face shield.
Oh, we lost John for a second. There he is.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry, 1 second. And that plastic face shield, he sent to a healthcare professional. They approved it. He has already sent 40,000 face shields to Montefiore Healthcare Systems, and he's producing 30,000 face shields a day. So when you see those type of partnerships happening, when you see those type of businesses who are now saying, you know what, I need to step up and help our healthcare professionals, it's a very rewarding thing to see.
And John, I think I understand that may have to go, but just final question. We see a lot of the small businesses like on the Mamaroneck Avenue in White Plains struggling to stay open where they can if they're essential. And there's a key need for them to be messaging out to their customer base, describing what hours they're open, what services
Yes.
they're able to provide. Is there any advice you have for small businesses on being able to message?
Well, we've heard, and through some of the council meetings that we've had with some of our businesses and our small businesses, it's time now to start reaching out to your clients and your customers, letting them know, checking in on them. If your business is still able to produce a product for their customers, make sure they know that, but really keep that line of communication as strong as possible. And for our restaurants who have taken a really hard hit, obviously, we continue on our website, www.thebcw.org, to list those restaurants in Westchester County that now are doing takeout and delivery services, because we need to continue to support our restaurants in the county as they go through this as well.
Very good. And John, certainly lots of us are working from home, and so many of your members have had to make the conversion. Most have made it fairly smoothly. Is there any key that you've heard from your members about making this successful switch to home office work?
Well, you know, it's fascinating. I was talking to one of our members who has been working from home for 10 years. And it has become just, you know, it's in his DNA. It's to be able to do that. His wife is a teacher. And so now his wife is finding that she is now working from home. And one of the things that she's said to him that she's having a problem is she doesn't know when work ends and home life begins, because she's never been in that situation before. So for those people who are working from home for the first time, I think that transition has probably been one of the most difficult, especially during these very, very high pressure times. So, you know, we're continuing to ask our members who have had that work at home experience to really, you know, share best practices with our members. Come up, what techniques have you used that might be now useful for somebody who's working at home for the very first time and is balancing their family life that's right there with them as they're trying to get through a workday and be productive. So I think we're in such uncharted waters for a lot of people, but this has probably been one of the more unique things that we're going to see people come out of this. And it will be interesting to evaluate now if more people will eventually say, you know what, we can continue to work remotely and be very productive and enhance our businesses and continue to bring in revenue. And it'll be one of the fascinating things I think people will study after this crisis ends.
I think the trend is going to continue. People working from home in much greater numbers from this. Now, John Ravitz, Executive Vice President of the Business Council of Westchester, lots of great material and video on your website. A final thought for our audience today?
Well, again, Ken, thank you for having me on, and for you and your listeners, I just hope everyone and their families can remain safe. Let's continue to work together so that when this crisis ends, we can continue to show that Westchester County and the Westchester County business community really continues to grow. We have so many exciting things that we were seeing happening in Westchester County, a lot of development in our urban centers that we're going to create more jobs, more revenue. Let's hope that once again this crisis ends, we can continue to build ourselves back up and get that momentum going again.
Absolutely. John Ravitz, Executive Vice President of Business Council of Westchester. Thank you for sharing a few minutes with us and the experiences of your members who are really in the forefront of this fight against the COVID virus.
Thank you, Ken. Take care.
Okay, you have a good day. This is Ken Kraetzer for CVSI Services, Talking Business. We thank John Ravitz, the Business Council of Westchester, and for all of us at CVSI Services based in Harrison, New York. Have a very good day and stay safe.